This video is brought to you by the Ridge wallet. Guys, this incredible wallet, it's light, it's sleek, it's industrial, but it doesn't fold or awkwardly bulge out of your back pocket. It goes into your front pocket. That will change your pocket game. If you moved on from the flip phone, don't you think it's time to let that 90s style wallet that your dad still uses behind? Ridge wallets hold to 12 cards, plus all the cash you need. You can choose from over 30 colors and styles. That includes carbon fiber and burnt titanium. It is the best wallet you can buy, and you don't just have to take my word for it because there's over 30,000 five-star reviews. I was skeptical at first, but once you try it, you will never go back to your old wallet, and there's no pressure. Test it out for 45 days. If you don't love it, send it back. Get a full refund. If you decide to keep it, there's a lifetime warranty. Click the link in the description. That's going to get you 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns. Go to ridge.com/Chael. That's ridge.com/Chael. Use the promo code Chael. Okay, lot to unpack here. Derrick Lewis, Ciryl Gane. A star is born. Now, we got to back up to prior to the fight, all right? I understood going into this that Ciryl is the better fighter. I understood, as did you guys, that it was going to be a stand-up fight. I got a statistic since I've spoke to you last on Ciryl Gane. I was working with Megan Olivi, and Megan Olivi throws up this screen on ESPN. She reads it, the very last one. Ciryl Gane had spent 0 time on bottom, not one single second. Now, going back in my memory of watching all of his fights, at least his professional ones, that's true. I knew it, but until I saw that written down in front of me, I suppose I did not realize it. So when I tell you that we knew going into this fight it was going to be a stand-up battle, and we acknowledge that Ciryl is much better, you kind of see how the fight's going to go, right? I mean, there was a reason that Ciryl was over 3-1 favorite. Last time I spoke to you guys, he was 3-1 favorite. He went off at over 3-1. More money came in on him. Now, I thought Beast had a chance for a couple of reasons. First off, he was 20 pounds bigger. In any other weight class, on any other fight on the card, at any time you've ever watched fighting, if I told you one guy weighed more than the other guy by 20 pounds, you're going to bet on the guy that has 20 pounds. Now, I realize for other heavyweights, that isn't true. But if I would have told you that Jose Aldo had 20 pounds on Pedro Munoz, you would have bet on Jose Aldo, just by example. So I thought those 20 pounds could come in handy. The crowd in Houston, get behind Derrick. What does that mean? In every other sport, we give a consideration and a respect to home court advantage. In this sport, we don't generally see it that way. It generally ends as a hometown pressure, but I chose to believe it was going to serve Derrick. So, you want to box a brawler, you want to brawl the boxer. Derrick Lewis can brawl. But if you look at the kickboxing fight that he had with Curtis Blades, it was very clear that as far as point fighting went, Derrick didn't stand much of a chance in there with a professional 27-3 record kickboxer. I'm only setting the stage for you because there was still a way to go with Derrick. He still had that size. He still has that power. Now, the good news in Derrick and the bad news on Derrick is the same news. He's big. When you are a big man, when you weigh 265 pounds, there's some things you just can't do. You just simply can't do it. It's one of the reasons that we don't generally see a heavyweight champion meet the limit. And boxing is guilty of that as well. And I know you can throw some examples where they did. Tyson Furies and the Brock Lesnars of the world. I get it. Generally speaking, historically speaking, you could find a couple of guys in both categories of boxing and MMA who have ever been close to the actual limit that went on to championships. They're just a little bit slow, but it also stops things that they can do. You're not going to see spinning back kicks from them. You're not going to see flying triangles or arm bars from these kinds of guys. You're not going to see the same kind of scrambles. That's okay. It just limits what Derrick can do. It also helps to identify what he needs to do to win the fight with Ciryl, which is land a big punch on a guy who's used to getting out of the way of big punches. I bring it to you because, as clear as things are right now, it's very clear that these two are not close. Going into the fight, there was a way to go with Derrick. And before you sell all your stock in Derrick or think he didn't belong in there, yes, he did. Derrick is a stud. Derrick is a great fighter. Derrick belonged in there. If you come away from that fight and you don't know that, you're a dick. And I'm just letting you know, you're a jerk. Derrick is great. Now, we can acknowledge that Ciryl is just much better as a way of serving and praising Ciryl, not as a way of insulting Derrick. I didn't know he was this good. Did you guys? I did not know he was this good. I watched him knock out Junior Dos Santos on the feet. At one point in Junior's career, Junior was the scariest and the best heavyweight striker in the sport. Definitely the best boxer in the heavyweight division. Ciryl beat him so handily and so quickly that Junior was released. Most of us thought Junior's best days were behind him, and Ciryl didn't get credit. Now I think as we look back on that, we realize, no, none of that was true about Junior Dos Santos. It's just this guy, Ciryl Gane, whoever and whatever a Ciryl Gane is, goddamn good fighter. Gane goes into the fight with Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik is another straight-up stud, particularly on his feet. So when Gane goes out and gets the best of them, and it's all on their feet, we should have come away with more appreciation for Gane. Instead, we took the opinion of Rozenstruik just wasn't as good as we all were told that he was. Now we see that isn't true. Gane just is. So what do you want to do with Gane? And what do you want to do with him? Dana White went as far as to say at the press conference, Vince McMahon could not have scripted this any better. Talking about Francis Ngannou versus Ciryl Gane. He's right. And there is such a wild lesson in this. Right? Whatever the landscape was, and as high of demand as John Jones was in to step in and fight Francis, it's gone. It's now Ciryl. That's the lesson. Ciryl Gane answered his phone and he said, yes, that's the lesson. Ciryl Gane will now be going in there with Francis Ngannou, who is his training partner. You can talk about who the best fighter is. You can talk about who the strongest fighter is. You could talk about who your favorite fighter is. No one can tell you no. They can only offer their opinion. You cannot talk about who the scariest fighter is and say anything other than Francis Ngannou. But Ciryl's buddies with him. Ciryl trained with him in France back in just kickboxing days. He trains with him now at Randy Couture's gym in MMA. You're just not afraid of your buddies, right? You're just not. You guys can all relate to that. And you'll have buddies that people are scared of. You're just not scared. They're your buddy. They're your friend. You go to lunch with them. You call them on the phone. You send them a dirty text message. He's your friend. I bring it to you. It's relevant. If Ciryl Gane is going to go fight Francis Ngannou, and 1 week ago, would have you even wanted to see that fight? You would have watched it. Would have you wanted to see the fight? Would have you had a huge anticipation? No. You also would not have thought Ciryl had a chance. What a difference a day makes. I mean, what an incredible difference a day makes. Don't forget. And these two have to fight. You have to fight or you have to leave the sport. And nobody has ever left a sport to get out of a fight. Not at this level. Not at championship level. It could happen. It's not. These two are going to fight. Francis was asked to participate over the weekend and take on Derrick Lewis. Francis said no. He didn't want to fight Derrick Lewis. He wasn't ready for Derrick Lewis. That is admitted and that is opened by Francis's team. They used other words. They used words of, we need more time to train. We've been traveling. They used other words. But absolutely what those words meant is we're not ready to fight him. Not under these circumstances. Not under this time. Not on that date. Not right now. Another guy stepped in those exact same circumstances and stomped Derrick out. That's now the guy that Francis has to face. Are you guys understanding this? Knowing what you know now, who would you rather fight, Derrick Lewis or Ciryl Gane? Knowing what you know now. Francis could have had the path of least resistance if he would have just said yes. He would have been the one fighting Derrick. However that fight would have gone, it would have gone, but we at least know it would have been an easier fight than Ciryl, right? I mean, that's just basic logic. Ciryl is apparently a lot better than Derrick. So Francis, who would not fight Derrick, now has to fight a guy much better than Derrick. Is that going to be a problem for the Predator? If you look at it from this perspective, you can see how these cards were misplayed. Your job as a fighter, everything you work for, every interview you do, which is a negotiation, if you don't understand what that means, right, you're just not following the class here. Everything that you do is a negotiation. to get to one thing, the biggest paycheck against the easiest opponent. That is what you want to do at all times. Ciryl Gane would not have been in championship conversation. They could have used this "we're training partners" things. They could have squashed it before it ever got going. Ciryl Gane has only had 9 fights. He's only been in MMA since 2018. This is not his time, and we all believed it. He would not have gotten the opportunity. Francis would not be locked in there with Ciryl Gane, not for at least another 18 months. This was misplayed and this was mishandled. Francis did not want Derrick. He is now going to take on a man who destroyed Derrick. It's a great match. I'm sure as hell not counting Francis out, not at all. I'm just speaking to the mindset and leading into it and following the general rule that you want the most money with the easiest opponent. That went out the door. Was that Francis's decision? Was that the management's decision? Doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Here we are. And Dana is right. You cannot script this any better. This is the fight. This is amazing. And I have been warning you guys for a period of time that things go very quickly. And while nobody has stepped up and emerged at heavyweight yet to replace the enigma in the anticipation of John Jones versus the heavyweight champion, while nobody had done it yet, they're coming. And while Ciryl just did it, I'm telling you, there's 5 more guys. They're already signed. They're already in the organization. Not they're somewhere in the world and they're waiting to be discovered. They're here now. They haven't got recognized, but they will. And if you think ever within your career you're going to wait, that you're going to stall as a tactic to benefit your career, be reminded, the only thing stalling and waiting and saying no to an opportunity does is make you unemployed.